forever. Like to talk to people all the time.
Gee, thanks.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but you just didn't know how or where to get the money? Well, every Sunday evening, Dan Borrero and me and myself, which one is it? We go live here to answer your questions. And not only that, but tell you what we're doing to stay proactive in today's climate. The real estate market is evolving, it's changing. People are doing different things, strategies come and go. But we feel that if you stay your course, stay with the plan that you have. A lot of people they have a plan, then they hear this guy doing this guy's doing BRRRR, this guy's doing short-term rentals, this guy's doing midterm rentals, this guy's doing this guy's doing that, and it throws them off their square. And next thing you know, 2 or 3 years goes by, and we want to make sure that you stay focused and vigilant on your real estate building empire. Dan Borrero, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, Mr. Haskins? As always, it's a pleasure to be here sharing the screen with you.
Man, it is an honor to have you, my brother. I'm glad you are alive.
Yes.
What happened, dog? We were supposed to go live 30 minutes ago, y'all. Then what happened, dog?
It's we barbecue all the time. We use the grill all the time. And my wife's been telling me I got to clean the bottom of the grill, and just haven't done it. And she called me up calmly. I was in my office doing some paperwork, and she says, "Do you look out the window, please?" And I was like, as flames are coming out of the bottom of the barbecue, like go all over. And I'm like, "Oh, what the hell?" And as I'm going down the stairs, I'm like, "Oh, I'm in trouble." I knew exactly what it was. So, but it's one of those gas operated ones where it's natural gas. So I made sure I turned off the valve from the inside before I went out. And
so you're piped into the house.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I'm glad nobody got hurt.
Yes. But cleanup was a bitch. So apologies to everyone for being late. But we are here to serve you guys. Literally, we are here to serve you.
Yep.
If you have any questions, feel free to call into that number. That's on the screen. That's 757-204-1332. You could also put your questions into the comments. Chris and I will be watching those and looking at those.
I want people to come on live. Yes, you can do that, but come on live. Then you will have 5 minutes when you come on. Our trusted advisors has told us that we're spending too much time. Look at this, Dan. This is a lease I just got when I bought a house the other day.
Okay.
1 page. I wanted to show you this. I was like,
that's just like a landlord looking to be abused, looking to be victimized, to say the least.
1 page, $1,200. Start date, $60. But this is what I walked into, y'all. So I want everybody to understand that sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Ooh, what am I doing here? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? When you're taking over these houses. So I got the deal because I was willing to. Damn, what is my? Sorry, y'all. Hold on. There we go. I got the deal because I was willing to walk in and just take over this problem and say, "Hey, look, I'll just deal with it." Dan,
when's the lease up? What's it say on top?
Yesterday.
So as of yesterday, they're on a month-to-month lease.
No, they moved out.
The tenants moved out.
They did.
So this is actually a great deal.
Well, I bought it 2 months ago. I got a 60-day notice, but I didn't know what was going to happen. I walked in. This was my lease. I'm like, this is what I'm taking over.
And he was cool with leaving.
Yeah, I'm like, well, new rent's $1,600 if you want to stay.
Yeah, but they could always give you a problem. But where you're at, it doesn't take you long to get rid of them, right? What does it take?
Nah, they'll be gone. Takes me max if they dig their heels in 90 days.
Oh.
How about you?
3 years, man. 2.5 years to 3 years in New York City.
I'm surprised you're not a lot of violence up there, man. People getting shot and stabbed over that.
I got to tell you, there has been acts of violence. I think more occurrences have happened in the last 24 months than usual. But there was about 2 years ago where this one particular guy has been trying to get rid of this family who lived above him. It was a 2-family, and after like of 2.5 years in court, it had just came back from court essentially, and he lost, and like the judge gave them another extension, meaning the family to keep looking, even though they had agreed to
Mm,
leave and there was an
mm.
eviction and they got to stay. And the guy just came home from court, bought a 5 gallon, or I think a gallon of gas on the way home, and just poured the gas on the stairs going up to the second floor in the same house that he lives in,
Wow, he's
and just
pissed.
and just and just lit it up. So thank God the people upstairs, the tenants, were able to get out with all their kids. It was a family of 6.
Mm.
Otherwise, he'd be facing murder charges as well.
Yeah, that's sad.
But
Wow.
but you know, that's the frustration. Another case where landlord and tenant had been fighting for several years, also in Queens, and landlord came back from court and just had it. He went into the apartment and shot them both. Like, so it's extremely frustrating.
He ain't got
And
nothing to lose. What he got to
no,
lose?
well,
Well, I
he's got
don't
a
know
lot to
what
lose.
Well, you don't know. I'm just saying we don't know. Well, it could be the man's life savings. He could have spent his entire life savings. We don't know what people going through.
Yeah, so
We don't
it's
know.
I'm surprised there isn't more violence.
Me
And
too.
by the way, I truly believe I wish there was some organization that got all the landlords together to sue the New York City Housing Department of Courts,
Maybe you
because
could come together with that.
yeah, it's abusive what they're doing to
It's
landlords. It's
criminal.
abusive.
Seems like it's
Yeah.
criminal to me.
Yeah, you're supposed to. They tell you don't take actions into your own hands. Don't take the
Yep.
law into your own hands. And then when you try to use the law to rectify the problem, and you have tenants living in your building, literally for 3 years without paying rent,
Wow.
that's an issue.
Wow. Andrea K, the realtor, says it needs to be fair laws for both parties, landlord and tenant. I don't see the hard part. But again, she's not in politics. I hear you on that, Andrea. Dan, I got this new thing here. Y'all, I get to ask Dan these questions while live since y'all ain't coming on. I had an application come in the other day. I wanted to just run it by you. I mentioned it to you. This
All
is
right, I'm
download.
listening.
On my applications, Dan, I always put, please list anything else you think we should know about you and your application. So the person writes, we are in a legal issue. I want y'all to understand, y'all. Dan and I do this full time. Right? This is all we do. I mean,
Damn, I don't know if we could actually put that. Could we actually say what we want to say on here? I don't know if it's
yeah. What do you mean?
I
This
don't
is
know
what
if
the
we'd be
people pay
finding
for.
ourselves in legal issues, because I quickly just read that. I'm like, go ahead, put it up. Guys, you could call in with your questions, or you could put them into the chat. If you call in, it's a toll-free number. It's 757-204-1332.
Listen, we're going to take your calls, but you get 5 minutes. Our trusted advisors. We are in a legal issue. Now, I want y'all to understand Dan and I are professional landlords, right? I'm not even going to act like I'm not. So we have to be we have to discern who's going to be the best. So when you're going after a tenant, y'all, I was trained that your tenant is like an employee, and you need to make sure that your employee can work the job that needs to be done. And it's nothing disrespectful or it's nothing demeaning about it. I need to make sure that I can work with you. And the application is going to tell us not only about your income, but it screams the type of person you are. So we are in a legal issue now. This is an application that I just got with the apartment complex that they live in regarding their property. They have not completed any maintenance orders that we requested. We had to call code compliance of Newport News, that's where I live, to get things resolved. Code compliance is the people that make sure that all the properties are in livable condition.
Okay, hold
They
on a
sent,
second. It says Newport News. Is that the name of the town, or is that a publication?
that's the county.
Okay.
That's the county. They slowly moving to fix things that we had put our money in. Oh, they put our money in escrow through the courts. They are still not fixing even when code compliance gets involved. Man, Dan, does that say a lot to you or what?
Um,
It says
it
so
speaks
much.
volumes to me, but
Wow.
I'd also want to see. Well, okay. So, what's your question? I'd like to ask the audience what
Yeah,
they
what are
think, Chris.
y'all?
I
Huh?
would love to know, if, especially you guys that have been following Chris Haskins and I. Let's see if the audience really knows how Dan Barrero is going to answer and how Chris. Let's see, put it into the chat, like quick sentence. Like, what would Dan Barrero say to this application?
What are y'all thinking about this person right here? When I read this letter, Dan, I love it because you get to dissect what people say.
Mhm.
First sentence: we are in a legal issue now. And you
Well,
said,
look, the reality is this: you're going to do a housing report, and you're going to see they're in a legal issue because their
yeah, no
names are going
doubt.
to come
Yeah,
up
I
in
haven't
housing.
even done it. Yeah.
So, in essence, what they're really trying to do is they're probably trying to get ahead of it, because maybe they've lost a couple apartments already because of this issue, right? So they're saying to
Mm,
themselves, "Hey, let's try to get ahead of this before that way, it makes us look like we're being transparent."
I ain't
That's
thinking
what I
about
would
that,
think.
Dan.
Yeah, maybe that's why they're putting it in there.
Thinking about
Dan would
that.
say the person is running from the previous landlord. Devon Perez.
Joel says, "Don't
Don't
touch
touch
it,
it.
Chris." Joe, for listen, put your name in. I want to know where you coming from. Put your name in and the city that you guys are in
Yeah, and
regarding the
again, if
problem.
anybody has any questions,
Call in with your questions, y'all. Dan, go ahead, Dan. I'm gonna listen.
um, well, let me ask you. Okay, I'll attack this one. I personally would not even do the interview on this because I'm sure I'm going to get an application that doesn't have legal issues. My argument is when people come to me with this kind of problem is, so let me see if I got this right. If the place is not habitable, if
Mm,
the landlord is that bad,
mm.
and many times they'll say, "Oh, it's roach infested, rat infested." I'm like, okay,
You ain't worth a damn.
so you want to stay in this place while it's roach infested, rat infested, termite infested, or that, or the repairs aren't getting done, and you're going so far as to call code enforcement. I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna meet me, my family, my spouse. We're out of here. We're gonna go live somewhere where it is being maintained and it's safe and clean for my
Mm,
family. The
mm.
time that you spend going to court, calling
Hold up,
code
before you get there,
compliance,
Dan. The code compliance ain't sitting there waiting to deal with you. They got
right?
50 other files. So this
Yeah, but think about
has
the
been.
time that it takes to call them, and then you got to be home, and they don't give you a specific time when they're coming. So
Mm-mm.
it means you got to be there all day, right? Like, I don't need a person. I don't want a person that is about drama or even knows how to do all this, because people that work for a living, like, and truly care about what's quality of life, or truly care about making money, they don't have time to be calling code enforcement, but they have
Nope.
time to just get the hell out and move. That's what any reasonable person would do. Why do
Yep.
you want, it says here you have a son, so why do you want to have your son and your spouse in a place that's not safe, that's not clean, that you need code enforcement to call up on?
Mm.
Why would you do that to yourself? Now, I don't know any judge, at least I haven't or hear of any judge that will hold the tenant to a lease when the landlord is not making repairs.
Want to do repairs. Dan, you saw this briefly. We talked a few days ago. I don't know if you remember when I first got it, and you were like, "Man, I wouldn't touch this application. I wouldn't even accept it." And I'm gonna give them their money back. If they might even be watching, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm giving their money back, and we're gonna part ways as friends. But Dan, tell me about the mindset of somebody that's willing to go to compliance, and then it says here we put our money in escrow. How long does that take, dog?
Think about you didn't go to court probably 2 to 3 months. They probably didn't put you into court for 2 to 3 months. If
Takes two
if the
months to get.
landlord is that incompetent in making repairs, they're going to be as incompetent to get you into court for non-payment. So you're in that area, you're probably 2 to 3 months. See, in New York City, I got to give you a 90-day notice of non-renewal. Then I got to give you the 30-day notice. Then I got to go get an index number, which is another month. and then I got to serve you with the file, because now once I get the index number, I can then file my case.
Equate that into a time frame, Dan. Forget what it is. Just give us a time frame.
5 months.
Okay.
So now I'm 5 months out of rent. 4 to 5 months out of rent. And then they tell me I got to wait about 9 months to see a judge. Then I'm going to see the judge, and then they're going to come in and say they don't know English, or they need an attorney. They're going to get a postponement for another month, month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to go into court, and the judge and the lawyer is going to say, "Hey, judge, I just caught this case. I need time to acquaint myself." And then we're going to go in 2 months later, a month and a half later. Now we're up to 14, 15 months. Then the judge is going to say, you need to go outside and see if you come up with an agreement. And then it's going to go back and forth for another 2 months. Then we're going to come back to court and say, hey, judge, we couldn't come to an agreement. And the judge is going to say, okay, we'll put it for trial. Come back 6 months from now.
Oh, my gosh.
Right?
You are so screwed.
So now, my argument is, so when I get an application like this, so let me see if I got this right. You coming to me 2 years after you were into the court case, which means you haven't paid rent for 2 years. So let me see. The place was it was good enough for you to live in for free, but it wasn't good enough for you to pay rent on. Now, in this particular case, they're putting it with escrow in the court. That means it's run differently in this state, right? So my argument is, why would you want to, if I get 3 months for free before I get into court,
yeah,
I'm just going to tell the landlord, yo, don't come after me for 3 months. I'm out of here.
I want you to use your money to move, Dan. That was
your money to move. Why do you want to stay in a place that you got to call code? So let me see if I got this right. You got time to call code compliance?
Listen, y'all.
Go to court.
Give us a thumbs up. This is real world application for y'all.
The personality, everything right there. This is what I'm thinking. You got time to be on the phone to calling code compliance. You got time to stay home and wait for
which I don't even want to like calling codes. I don't like dealing with permits for my own jobs.
You got that right. Then you got to stay home waiting for code enforcement. Then you got to let the people in to do the repairs while you live there, which means then you got to stay home again, right? Then you got to spend all those hours and days fighting with the attorney, with the landlord, and then speaking to your attorney, and then you got to spend time going back and forth to court. You got too much time in your hands and you're too drama driven. I'm out. I don't want you.
Dan, you got to take this money to escrow down to the courts. Can you imagine that?
And you got to file the escrow with the courts.
Dan, tell me about the mental. Well, you got to get in your car. Oh, can you pay that online? Can you pay that online?
You know what, man? I don't know, because every county's different. But let's talk about something. When Chris and I, we look for, and I could say this because Chris and I have had this conversation so many times. When Chris and I, we look for tenants. We're not just looking for qualifications. We're looking for personality traits. And we're looking for personality traits that are not drama-driven, but resolution-driven. People that say, hey, you know what? I got this leak. I said, no problem. Can I send my person there today? You know what, Dan? I'm on my way out, but can we do it tomorrow morning? Sure, no problem. Right? We're looking for not only people that look like, there's sometimes I've taken people with bankruptcies. I've taken people with housing court issues in the past. But when I speak to them, I could tell immediately, sometimes they have legitimate arguments,
no doubt.
And they have legitimate arguments. Sometimes it really is the landlord's fault. Like if I call up, I could go online and look up the building. It's an 8-family building and they got, 38 violations. And they got violations not just from that one apartment, but from every apartment, plus safety and health violations. You could tell immediately it's not the tenant's fault; it's the landlord's fault. Right? So but in this particular case, I don't know. I start thinking about all the time they must have spent to achieve that, to go through what they just described. And that tells me they got way too much time on their hands.
I don't want them on my ass.
No.
BG. Brandon says, this suggests the tenant may cause maintenance issues, but is responsible enough to escrow lease payments and keep rent payments on track. Also, the landlord just may not be a pro. Very true. That's a good point. Good point.
Very well may be, but why do you, as any landlord here, as any if listen, I've been a tenant and I've had a shitty landlord when I was in college. I moved
Hmm.
out. I moved out,
Just go.
and he actually tried to sue me, and I was like, all right, we could argue it in court, and I went and argued on my own behalf. I was like, here's a log of all the phone numbers, all the times I called them. These are the people I spoke to every time I called there. This is the time I spoke, the date I spoke. Here's the 3 certified return receipt letters that I send them confirming that the appointments, and nobody showed up. Right. So, and by the way, here's the pictures.
Wow.
Right. So, judge was like, "Well, how could you hold them liable when you weren't doing your job?" So they let me go without having to pay what that person had wanted. But again, I don't know any judge that will hold a tenant liable for a lease when the landlord's not providing the services to keep them
Let
safe.
him go. Let
Yeah.
him go. I'm fat. I don't want your money. Art says Dan is the logic of a hardcore vet.
Who says that?
Art from Baltimore. What up, Art?
That is true.
Salute, salute. Deborah says it's okay to start interviewing tenants 3 months before you close.
Say,
Dan, don't beat me up. Oh, wow. Is it
uh,
okay? That's a deep one. I got some
no,
other stuff, Dan. I got this other court case I
I
want to
would
talk to you.
not be showing any apartments to a property that I don't currently own because
Why not? What's
you
wrong
don't
with
know
that?
what's going to happen at the closing.
That ain't your
It's
fault. If it doesn't close, you got tenants on the hook. If it doesn't close,
nah,
then
I'm
they
sorry.
can't move.
What first and foremost, imagine you being on the other side of that. Let's put yourself in the tenant side,
Oh, you
and
let
you
them
ready.
know.
It doesn't matter. You ready to move in. You gave your current landlord, telling notice that you're leaving. And now I get a phone call 2 days before the closing saying, you know what, closing go through because the bank just pulled the mortgage. They just checked and they found out my wife lost her job last month. Right? Now, what happens to that tenant? It's not
They
right to the
asked
tenant.
out. They're
It's
asked
not
out.
right to the tenant. Tenants already packed up, already made scheduled the movers, told the current landlord they currently leaving. Current landlord already has a new tenant for the apartment. What happens?
Wow.
It's
Well,
not
you
right.
can always let them know, man. You can let them know.
I wouldn't do it.
So, guys, calling you in with your questions 757-204-1332. Dan, I got this other thing with my guy. I'm going to be doing a video. In fact, if y'all want to learn more about this stuff, sign up for the waiting list. So, we're going to be reaching out to all the people first to give you a juicy deal on the Ultimate Landlord Survival Guide. We don't want tenants to destroy your life like they tried to destroy me and Dan Barrero's lives. So, in the link, right in the show notes, there's we'd love to get your email address so we can stay in touch with you because we will be opening up the doors to this thing within the next few days. We're almost done. We're almost done, y'all. Thank y'all for bearing with us. Damn. So this guy got 17 years in jail, but I wanted to show you. Let me find this one back. Oh,
And by the way, guys, just because you have a record doesn't mean you'd be a bad tenant. I have a couple of tenants. One of them in particular that comes to my mind in Florida. He's been there 5 years now. Um, I get my rent literally on the first every month. Place
wow.
is spotless. Whenever he asks me to make a repair, he never ever gives my service providers problem getting in. Polite, you know. He did a couple of years, not many, but I know it was a felony record. But the point is, like, there are productive people out there, even though they've done time.
It is. I like them guys because they don't want nobody in their business.
No, and they don't want no trouble.
Devon says, what else can be asked for on an application that will assist in assessing personality traits or tenants? Join, give us your email address, man. We're going to get all of our secrets on the Ultimate Landlord's Guide, brother.
Yeah.
Anything else,
And
Dan?
guys, I want you all to know, I want everyone here to know, this is going to be an intense class. It's a
6
4 to 5 week
sessions.
class.
Yeah.
It's going to be intense, guys. This is it's going to be real estate 4.0 on steroids. The workbook alone, my workbook alone, is about 127 pages. Plus, you're going to have Chris's workbook because Chris is going to be covering Section 8
Lease
uh,
options.
lease options. So this is going to be the ultimate landlord guide on steroids. Like, there's not going to be a problem that happens that you guys will not be
Won't
able
be able
to
to
handle.
solve. Make sure you give us your email address in the show notes below. Yeah, so many things we could give you. I don't even know. How can I obtain previous violations on the property? Momo.
Just go to the county website, Department of HUD,
Or just
or
call
the
down to
Department
the
of
city.
Buildings.
Just call down code compliance. Say, hey, I got this address 123 Easy Street. Please give me any open or closed violations. And just shut up. Mr. Chu, is there a general guideline for how many years should pass before you renovate the same unit again?
Wow, that's a really good question. I actually
Really
just
good.
renovated a unit 29 years ago.
You
It
just
was a
renovated a unit 29 years ago. What the hell?
it's a three-family building. I did a full gut job on it 29 years ago. Tenant moved out January 31st, and the months of December, January, and February are the worst months to rent in the city of New York.
Yeah. Here
And
too.
you and you usually get
Tell
about
them why, Dan.
holidays. People are tired from the holidays. They don't have any
Money gone.
money. And
They
the
don't want to move.
reality, yeah, they're not. The reality is that like here, it's cold, it's snowy, the, you know. So, when I've rented apartments in those months, I usually get about $200 to $300 less, right, than I would if I waited until March. So I decided to renovate the kitchen and bathroom because it was there almost 30 years. It's been, it was looking tired. So I did the kitchen, I did the bath, and I had a renter in there for March 1st at $600 more than I was getting from the previous tenant. So
Sweet.
yes, if you do the job right in the beginning, you shouldn't have to do any major renovations for anywhere from 25 to 30 years. Now, if you do a shit ass job and use shit ass material, then you're gonna get what you deserve. You're gonna get what you paid for.
Yep. Lowe's and Home Depot cabinets. Don't use them.
No.
Dan, y'all calling with your questions here. So I'm doing a case study on the guy that got 17 years. This is one of the indictments. I just wanted to read it to you and get your take on it.
Let's talk about.
EP is an African American woman. On or about July 15th, EP rented a single family home at this address from Merriman. That's the guy that went to jail. EP lived in the home until she was evicted by Merriman on about August. EP, the lady, regularly paid rent from 2015 until she was laid off at her job 2021 during the pandemic and suffered from medical problems resulting in her hospitalization. Specifically, EP fell behind on her rent, obviously, in the summer of 2021. While EP was hospitalized soon thereafter, Merriman sent a crew to remove all of her belongings from her home and had her car towed. EP lost all her belongings in the house. Wow. On or about May, Merriman aided and abetted others known and unknown to the grand jury applied for the VHDA. That's a Virginia a Virginia institution. Listen to this. Applied for Virginia Housing and Development. Applied for approximately $15,000 in rent relief benefits for EP. Dan. So basically, he went and tried to get the money for the rent. EP did not know about it, consent to, or otherwise authorize or benefit from this application. Merriman, aided and abetted by others known and unknown to the grand jury, used EP's name and and forged her signature on the rent relief application, all without her consent. Merriman falsely represented to the VHDA that EP owed back rent beginning as early as June 2020 through August 2021. Merriman further submitted a fabricated residential lease agreement and an addendum to renew and extend the lease, wherein he again forged EP's signature and used her name without her consent. Here we go. Not Dan. Despite obtaining, this guy got $15,000 from VHDA. He evicted the lady and cited her for unpaid rent. In total, Merriman filed 3 legal actions to evict EP, which have continued to affect and prevent her from obtaining housing. Dan, is this guy's just a slime
He's
ball?
a piece of crap.
I can go on and
He
on.
needs to go to jail. Did he get time?
He got 17 years, but I want people just to understand what's going on here, y'all. I gotta read. I got so much here I can read to you. Where is it at? Back.
I got something I wanted you to look up, Chris.
What?
Um, Something came up on my feed today. I was going to actually look into it. That New York City rent stabilized apartment building owners are going to be getting delayed checks from Section 8. Can you look
Oh
that up?
wow.
See if that's any truth in any articles?
Let's look. All right, y'all. You got a few more minutes. We're gonna be gone. Get your question there. You said New York. Where's it at?
Yeah, who's New York City rent stabilized apartments uh, delayed Section 8 checks.
All it says here is causing confusion. Let's see. This is crazy. This is scary. Section 8 delays rattle rent stabilized owners. Oh, they want me to pay for that one. I'll pay for that. Go. Let's see. New York City officials say the fallout from proposed federal funding freeze caused them to delay rent payments on Monday to landlords who lease apartments to tens of thousands of tenants for Section 8 housing. Yes, you're right. New York Housing Authority administers the federal Section 8 program to roughly 100,000 households. Good gosh. With agency receiving $2 billion a year from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and distributing it to private landlords at the beginning of each month. That's me and you. Landlords expected to see monthly rent checks deposited in their bank accounts on Monday morning, but many of the deposits were missing. Very unusual. What is going on, Dan? Real estate agent connects landlords with tenants who use rental assistance. 7 landlord call asked about you. They're missing Section 8 payment. In response to the question, NYCH spokesperson, I guess that's a housing department,
Mm-hmm.
blamed the delay confusion resulting from a Trump administration directive last week ordering federal agencies to pause payments. The White House rescinded the order shortly after it was issued. Okay, so it looks like it's been rescinded.
So, guys, I've been saying this for
Wow, man,
months, a
that's
couple of
crazy,
months
dog.
now, and this is not a political statement. This is just a reality. Trump is a disruptor. Every president that comes in disrupts to an extent, but Trump takes that to a whole new level.
Well, Republicans, remember in high school they used to say Republicans wanted smaller government. Democrats want bigger government. I mean, it's just been the thing since the beginning.
Since the beginning.
Not
And
that I'm either one. Shit.
yeah, I can't stand either party. But so for those of you that didn't think this was going to be you want to be affected if you were a Section 8 landlord, you're crazy.
Well,
You're
when we
nuts.
say affected, here's the thing, Dan. My argument is this: Trump, from my perspective, like say this, you and me. If I was a president and you was my guy, I'm not gonna make it so you're gonna lose your shirt. Now I might make it a little rough a little bit, but we own all the damn buildings. Why would I want to cut off my throat?
There's no think about this. If they were really good business people, they wouldn't be government officials, would they?
But all his friends are though. All his friends,
And
like
a lot of us, and they're all like, "What's the hell going on? Look at what's happening with the farmers." Right? Like, I don't want to get into politics, but
yeah,
the reality is, if you truly believe that these cuts are not going to affect you in somehow or some way,
yeah, it's
you're
coming.
just putting your head in the sand.
That's
Now,
true. No, you're right
that
about that.
doesn't mean that there's not opportunities for you to make money with the situations that's happening. No matter what administration comes in, there's always an opportunity if you position yourself according to and pivot to take advantage of the changes. And as long as you've been preparing. So Chris and I, we are not the people on here on social media that tells you, "Hey, come and take our course and you're going to be rich in a year."
Oh
We're
no.
not those people. We're the people giving you the two people you see on the screen. We're telling you the truth. One, you ain't gonna get rich right away. Two, it takes a lot of hard work. Three, you better take the time out to learn this business so
Mhm.
that you don't have to depend on Section 8, or you don't have to depend or worry about if you have a tenant or two or three tenants that can't pay you, because all
That's
your
gonna
doors will
happen.
be able to
Going to happen.
recoup that. Plus, you already bought the property at the right number.
And you
Plus,
paid your debt down.
you paid your debt down, right? So this is what Chris and I are trying to teach you. Like, if you guys want to become wealthy, become millionaires overnight, you're following the wrong two guys.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I tell people I'm real lucky. I'm a 35-year overnight success. I'm very fortunate. What about you, Chris?
It's so weird you say that, Dan. I was thinking about that today. Like, man, this thing, there is no fast way, especially in real estate. It's just a slow game, but
Slow
you
drip.
gotta do the dripping, dripping, and then this is gonna be the first time the market crashed in '08, I was over leveraged, so I got wiped out.
Hold on a second.
Well,
That was
I'm
your
sorry.
first
I'm
time.
sorry. Yeah, yeah.
I've been
My
around.
first.
I've been around. I've been around the street of the block a few times.
My first experience with a crash when everything was going crazy. Now this thing isn't working again.
What thing
Hold
is
on, we
that?
got to call the phone. It was just working with my wife.
Damn, told you, bro.
What
I'm gonna
the
fire that
hell?
tech guy. We gotta
Hello?
fire him.
You there, caller? Nope. Dan, it was just working. My wife called in. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Caller, you're on the line with Chris and Dan. Dan, I don't know what is going on. It was just working. State your name. Where you calling from?
Hey, Chris. Hey, Dan. It's Deborah Jackson from South Jersey.
Hey,
How are
Dan
you,
can't hear
Deborah?
you. Shit, Dan can't hear you. I can't.
I
You
can
gotta.
hear.
We
I
gotta.
can hear.
He can hear you, but I can't. Hold on, Deborah. I can't get the thing. Shit was just working. Hold on, Deborah. Dan, I swear to goodness, yo, my wife called it. The shit was just working. No, it ain't
But
working.
just put it to the speaker.
Deborah, what's your question?
Hey, Chris. Hey, Dan. It's not a question.
Or
I
Dana?
was calling to let you know you said something about the farmland. I'm down in South Jersey, and a lot of the farmlands have sold off huge portions of their farms. So now they're putting up houses, and there's signs down here saying no farms, no food. You know, we got to really think about what's going on and what they're doing with this government and these cuts. It's crazy.
Scary stuff.
Well, look.
It's a good point.
If
Deborah, Dan not gonna be able to. He won't be able to talk directly. You won't be able to hear him. So we'll talk to you soon. Okay. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
All right. I don't know why this
you know,
thing.
this is what some people don't. A lot of people aren't taking into account. Yes, a lot of this farmland is being used for
One,
residential
two,
or industrial, but the reality is because of technology, farmers are able to grow more food with less land because of technology and equipment. Right. The problem is the labor on the picking of the fruits, and that's the labor. That's the problem right now. But we don't need as much land as we needed 50 years ago or 100 years ago because technology and because of new ways of planting and they're finding new more efficient ways to irrigate. So all this makes it easier to grow food with less land. That doesn't, I'm not saying that's not something we should worry about, especially when we're selling all this prop farmland to China. Like, imagine us going into China buying farmland. That shit will never happen.
never happen.
Why are we selling farmland to China here?
Never happen. Never happen. That's a good point, though, Deborah. I hadn't even thought about that. Never thought about that. My wife can test this thing, Dan. Dan, it was something I wanted. I was just had on the tip of my tongue. Okay, now it works when my wife calls.
The phone always works when your wife calls, right?
Yeah, I gotta pay. Good, I gotta pay something, babe.
Hello, can you hear me?
Why isn't this
We
thing?
can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, there you
All
go.
right, babe. I just had a caller call. It didn't work. What's wrong with this thing? Thank you. All right,
All right, bye-bye.
Dan. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, man.
All right,
So,
guys, give us a call in 757-204-1332.
So we're opening up. Dan, um, as we move into March, getting into this thing, what are you seeing regarding deal flow? You seeing more high equity stuff, creative stuff, more land stuff? What a question too. Is things changing at all? Because I know I remember a few years back you were like, man, and I like when I talk to guys like you, I know that you. Well, I don't know. Let me ask. I don't buy. I'm like, I didn't buy nothing. I didn't buy nothing. You know, and it doesn't necessarily bother me. But I know new investors, they're looking for deals so quickly they get kind of
Anxious.
uneasy when
Yeah.
they're not buying. There, because you just talk about that a little bit.
The reality is that I've learned over years that probably the best deals I make are the deals that I walk away from. The best deals I've made are the deals I've walked away from because I could have lost a lot of money. Um, so again, don't let your emotions or your anxiety of missing out make a decision and put you into a deal that doesn't make sense. Go strictly by the numbers. However, like last year I did 40 something deals, 42 deals, I think. The year before I only did like 47 deals. And this year doesn't look like I'm going to even get to that.
That's okay.
Yeah. And that's perfectly fine. So again, I don't know. Let's see what happens in 6 months. Like in Florida, the real estate market's taking a nosedive in many areas. But
Can't
New
wait to see what's
Jersey,
going to happen down there.
New Jersey and New York, the prices are pretty much staying steady. So every area is different.
Prices are staying the same. And caller, state your name and where you're calling from, please.
Are you there?
Oh, hold on. You there? I missed you. Is the caller there again? Caller, you there?
Yes. Yes.
State your name. Where you calling from, buddy?
Joel McLeod from Montgomery, Alabama.
Joel from Montgomery, Alabama. Hold on a second.
Damn, we get a lot of calls from Alabama, don't we?
Yeah, that is strange. They must love you down there, Dan.
They think they loving you.
Shoot, man. Hold on a second. Joel, how can we help you, brother? We got 5 minutes for your question.
Well, hold
how can we
on.
help you?
Joe, who do you love more? Who the Alabamians love more? Me or Chris Haskins?
I can't say that.
We know y'all love Dan more than y'all know I ain't worth 5 cents.
What's up, Joe?
I'm gonna remain neutral.
Okay.
Listen, I got a question. I bought a sub-2 property here in Montgomery, and the owner has about 11 years left on the mortgage. It's got a 11.125% interest rate on it.
Oh, damn.
And
yeah, but how many years was
the
hold on, Joe? How many years was the mortgage originally?
It was a 30-year mortgage originally.
Everything's going towards principal right now, so it don't matter.
You in the home stretch, dog.
Yeah, don't matter what the interest rate was.
Yeah, my question is, because there is 11 years left on a variable rate at 11.125, I was thinking about getting a private money lender.
You're paying no interest. You're paying zero interest, dog.
No, I'm paying 11.125%.
You're not paying that
interest. You're on the back end of the loan, though.
Hold on, Chris. You need to explain to him how the mortgage works and how they collect their interest, which is mostly in the front end.
Why do amortization work? You're right.
So your question is, should you take that out?
Let me ask you a question, Joe. How much is the monthly mortgage, Joe?
Right now it's about $950.
Okay, and how much of that $950? I'm assuming that's interest and principal, correct? So, how much of that $950 is going towards the principal?
Oh, probably. I have to look and see, but probably a good $875, probably $850.
So why do you concern yourself with what the interest is? The previous owner paid all the upfront interest because on a mortgage, the interest is always paid up on the front end of the mortgage, not the back. So right now, if you went and got a loan even for 5%, a private money lender loan for 5%, you're not going to pay down that principal faster than if you keep the existing loan.
Well, I can only get it for 6 years.
But your sub-2 is 11, right?
Right. I was
Yeah.
just wondering if that 5-year difference will allow me to cash for more quicker.
Are you cat? Well, how much is the
If
rent?
I got a 1,500.
Oh man, you are in the daggone driver's seat.
See,
Dad.
you will be able to cash flow more, but you're going to add more time to the to the principal amount that you'd be paying. So that's a you decision.
No, how long have you had this one, Joel?
I just closed on this January. I'm doing renovations to it right now, and I'm almost done. So I'm looking for tenant buyers.
Oh, that's a whole nother question. You need a consultation. I don't know why you sinking money into this house, dog. Why? Okay, so suffer now. What is it? You're gonna pay now or pay later? So I don't like it, but if you pay now, you pay it off faster, and then you have all cash flow. Dan, are you on the same
Right.
page with that?
Absolutely, I'm with you, man.
Suffer now because you could take the hit. I know what I wanted to ask Dan now. The good times are nothing but an opportunity for you to prepare for the bad times.
Yep.
So if you can suffer, dude, I promise you this shit has worked for me. Suck it up. You're paying like 60, 70% principal, dog. People would kill to have a loan that's paid 18 years and you just stepped in 18 years, Joel.
Yep.
You chilling,
Yeah, but I can
dog.
pay it off in 6. If I got a private money loan, I can pay it off in 6.
If I was you, I wouldn't take any cash flow. Can you observe? Or you have other income?
There's no way you're going to pay that loan off at 6 with less of a payment. Because think about this. How much is the loan of principal amount?
Right now.
How much is the principal?
Yes.
Out of that 950, it's probably about 800
total principal.
Probably.
Total principal.
No. How much if you wrote a check to the bank and say I'm paying you off, how much that would be?
Oh, 57,000.
No, there's no way that in
You
6
refinance
years you're
that
still
thing.
going to have principal left over on that mortgage.
Your
You
payment's
go
gonna be
with
lower. You got
Yeah. There's no way. Think about that. How much you going to pay in mortgage if you do private lending?
Probably about 1,100, 1115.
Hold on. Why would you not just keep what you have, paying the 900 and change?
Well, I just have to pay it for 11 years as opposed to 6 years.
So
If I had a private
pay
money
another
loan.
pay
And I
another
don't worry about the
$150.
rate. I don't know where the rate's going either. The rate may go up. It's a variable rate.
Don't matter. You ain't paying
Variable
interest.
rate.
You ain't paying no interest.
First of all, let me explain. The rates are not going up, guys. Rates are going to be coming down. With so many government people being unemployed, it's going to increase the unemployment level. And
Joe,
every time the
I'm
unemployment
gonna hang the
level
phone up. We're gonna keep going, okay? Good calling, buddy. Thanks for calling.
Every time the unemployment level increases, 90% of the time, the interest rates come down. So, the government's putting a lot of people on unemployment, which is also going to create other problems, which most people aren't seeing. The reality is, this is basic economics, people. Those government workers were getting services. They were getting landscapers. They were getting their food delivery. They were buying their lunch, instead of making lunch and bringing it to work, right? Those luncheonette people, they're going to be making less money. Some of them are going out of business.
My wife taking lunch every day now.
they think about it, right?
We are.
Right. So, the painters, the landscapers, those people are going to get less work now because government people are going to say, man, I'll be losing my job. Let me cut back on the landscaper. Let me start getting ready for what may be coming down the road.
We all cutting back.
Right. So there's going to be a lot. Now that landscaper had 12 people. He don't need 12 people no more. He only needs 5 people. Now that's 7 more people on the unemployment line. Mm-hmm. Right. Now what's going to happen, me as an employee, I'm like, wait a minute. I have my pick of the cream of the crop now. For 12 years, I had to pay. The employees were telling the employers, not only do you have to pay me more and give me 6 weeks vacation, but by the way, on Fridays you got to let me go off at 3:00 because I need mental health time, right? And I got to do my personal things. That shit's going out the window, right? So because now you got all these government workers coming on to the unemployment line that are actually qualified. They've been trained in specific fields, right?
Dan, go ahead.
you know, you're going to see interest rates going down, people.
Dan,
So
this
if you have
guy,
a variable rate, I wouldn't be worried about it.
when I listen to Joel, I love you. You're still watching. Thank you. Joel, you are, as Myron Golden says, that you are in the Garden of Eden, but you have somehow, not just you, we all focus on the one tree that we can't eat. I don't understand why life is like this. Every tree in the garden, blueberries, strawberries, apples, bananas, mangoes, every tree. But that one tree, and what is your tree? That gosh darn blankety blank interest rate. I'm like,
I wouldn't
yo,
care if it was 15%.
50, you're paying no interest. You're paying,
Very little.
you're at the end.
Oh, hold
Even
on a
if
second. Let's take it a step further. Whatever you are paying in interest is deductible.
and you can run it off. Joel, you're at the dude. You time traveled. You did what every American wants to do, and most people will never do in their entire life. You got in a time machine and you fast forwarded somebody's loan and you took it over, right? So far you are so ahead of the game, dog, Joel. If I were you, I'd be patting myself on the back. I got nothing but love for you. As opposed to what I did, and we gotta go. I thought about like you. I paid some of my loans down. I'm like, should I refinance? Should I refinance? Thank God I didn't. What I did, I started paying more on the loan. I know Dan's already like, yep, that's smart. So say the payment was 1,000, my rent was 1,500. I took all the rent and put it on there. So I had the interest, I'm sorry, the principal built into the original payment and the rent, extra rent. So instead of paying 800 a month, Joel, now you got 1,300 a month going to the interest, and you want to see some debt disappear like this, you won't even fit. You'll be like, damn, I didn't even know. Next thing you look up, that little 50,000, that joint will be gone in 3 years. Dan,
Yeah, listen, the reality is if you have a 30-year mortgage and you make one extra payment a year, that 30-year mortgage comes
he
down
got
to
11-year mortgage.
but let's just use basic what most people are. You have a 30-year mortgage, you make one extra payment a year, that mortgage comes down to 23 years. 23 years, right? Now, if you're carrying a mortgage at less than 5% interest, I think you're crazy if you pay down your mortgage. I'd be making the most minimal payment ever.
That's true. But he doesn't. He has an interest. Joe, you all to the good. Either way, he's all to the good. Hold on to it, man. Suffer now. And I had to learn. I'm so thankful, Dan, during the pandemic, the money that I made. I'm so glad I paid off my real estate. That's so crazy because I get to tell, this is like my life story. I can tell my kids during 2019, 20 to 2023, I took all my money and paid off because you couldn't leave the house. What were you gonna do?
I want people to understand because Chris just said something. Chris couldn't leave the house. There was no restaurants open, right? So maybe you could order out. You weren't going on vacation. You weren't paying for plane fare. I mean, your cars weren't getting used. So if you had a 30,000 with a 36,000 mile limit, and you turning the car like my car, I had 36,000 mile limit on my lease.
That at least too.
And when I went to turn it in, it only had 18,000. I was
that was crazy times, man.
You know what? I'm going to buy this out.
I did too.
Right. So the point is, what is Chris saying? He says, I wasn't spending money on normal things in life, so I might as well pay down my notes. And because of that, tell them where you're at today, Chris.
Yeah, I'm paid them all. Paid them all. Like, I mean, I got some little few things here and there, but nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And I think people, I'm so thankful, dude. I'm so thankful. But you know what? You have to be able to recognize that stuff. Because unless you got some road behind you to say, you know what, this ain't coming back around.
And you got to be willing to work this muscle.
757-204-1332. I think we had one on the caller. Caller called in, but I missed you. You can try one more time. We'll take one more call. We got 5 minutes. Dan, the good times are nothing but an opportunity to plan for the bad times. Can you just tell us?
Bad times are just an opportunity to make shitloads of money. You know, let's talk about that, Chris. You know, every time I walk in a room and I'm in a room with entrepreneurs or other investors, everybody's talking about how like they can't wait for the next recession. And they're talking about how much money they made in 2008 or the recession before that, right? Like if you walk into an area with a room with real rich people, everyone's talking about, damn, I can't wait for that next recession.
For the
Damn,
the downtime,
I can't wait for interest rates to hit 10%.
the downtimes, right?
Because in downtime,
Hard time.
we make money.
Caller, you're on the line with Chris and Dan. Please state your name and where you calling from. Why does this thing keep coming up? One more time, brother. Did it go out again?
Say what now?
State your name, where you calling from. We got
Yeah,
you.
yeah. This is Patrick from Alabama.
Patrick from Alabama. How are you, bro?
Patrick from Alabama. I remember you, brother. You got 5 minutes, Patrick.
Yeah.
What's your question?
Quick question. Yeah, I know I called with a whole bunch of problems and drama, but
You can get a consultation.
my question is, I had I had a fire in an apartment last year, and I finished it up. And by coincidence, I have a third-party management company that basically the tenant that they are looking at approving, that he recently had a fire.
Damn.
So my question is do y'all look at the tenant in a different way, or is it anything that I need to look at as far as the tenant? Because I do have say so in putting that tenant in there, and I don't want to be like discriminative or anything in that manner. So
good question. That's a damn.
But that's my question.
Okay, good question. Thank you for that one, Patrick. Damn, that's a
All
Dan
right.
Borrero question, man. Dan, what do you think about having a new tenant that has had a fire? Did they tell you that a fire, Patrick?
Yeah. Said he lost his. He had a fire in his apartment building, and but that was pretty much it. They didn't really go in depth and tell me everything.
He caused it.
I don't know.
Oh, we're not sure.
I guess I need to find that out.
Dan, you muted. Dan, you talking, Dan? You talking to somebody else? Dan, we can't hear you. I got you. Hit it.
Okay, cool. There's multiple questions that you have to ask, Patrick. And the main question is, how long ago was the fire? So now if the fire was a year ago, okay, well, where you been living? Well, I've been living in the apartment. Well, you got proof you've been paying rent for that apartment? Why did I have to pay rent? Because it was inhabitable. So then why were you living there? And how were you living there, right? Now, if you tell me you weren't paying rent because you moved in with your parents, and then I do my background check and I could see your parents own the house that you say you moved into, and and when you do the credit report, that address will come up as a recent address, a known address. That makes sense, right? But I've had a tenant come to me in the past where they were it was a big apartment building in the city, and they said that they didn't have to pay rent because it was inhabitable, but they were living there, right? So my argument is, so let me see if I got this right. So it was good enough for you to live in for free, but it's not good enough for you to pay rent, and I don't want you, right? And then I would also ask where did it start? And you could always go on to public records and read up the articles on what was the cause of that fire, right? So, but if it was caused because that tenant was the one smoking or cooking with grease or something to that effect, yeah, I wouldn't be renting it to them. If it was caused because of a previous tenant's action or just an act of God, and then I would not hold that against them. I mean, I'd probably give them the apartment sooner than later so that they could, start getting their lives back together. Because, coming out of a fire, it's extremely devastating.
Can't imagine. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, he just basically last week lost. The fire was last week, so everything really just happened back to back. But the apartment, by coincidence, that he's moving in is one I've had renovated because of a fire. A year, I guess, last year.
Yeah,
I guess that's what I'm.
Again, Patrick, do the interview. Go strictly by the papers. Make sure you follow your gut feeling. And you want a personality trait that's problem resolution rather than drama resolution.
All right.
Good luck,
Okay,
Patrick.
I got you.
Good luck, brother.
All
Hey,
right,
make
thank
sure
you.
you join our email list below so you can come on and join the mastermind with the landlords survival guide. Dan, have you ever had any luck? I know Dan and Greg fall asleep. I'm gonna leave you.
I'm
I'm gonna
ready
leave
to
the
go.
line on here.
I'm
We get
ready to go.
excited. Dan, I just got an application while we were talking. I got a resident, somebody that's living in a hotel. Have you ever had good experience from any applicant coming from a hotel?
It all depends. Yeah, I've taken people coming, but like I just had a situation a few months back where somebody was living in a hotel, or actually an Airbnb, for a month and a half because they had moved from Los Angeles to New York. They accepted a job and they hadn't found a place to live in. Right.
That's a little different.
Yeah. So it all depends on the situation and the individual.
Let me read it. I'm gonna read it to you. Can I
I
read it to you?
had another time I had a woman and her child who was living in a hotel, and I'm sorry, that was a different one. I had a man living in a hotel, and the sister was telling me how, you know, she will be responsible for the lease, and I could even put her on the lease. Now the sister had like an 820 credit score, but the man had lived in the same house for like 11 years. Took his landlord to court, the new landlord to court, because
Oh
he
shit!
felt the increase was too high. Got evicted, moved into her house, the sister's house, and
Call her
now
one second.
the sister put him in a hotel, so that she can have her house back supposedly, and she's willing to pay the rent for. I'm like, so the previous landlord didn't
Call her.
want
Hold
him.
1 second. 1 second. Call her.
You don't want him. That's why you're paying for a hotel, and you want me to take him? Yeah, no.
You- call. Call her. State your name. Where you calling from, buddy?
Hi, my name is Greg. I'm calling from the Bronx, New York.
Greg
Bronx
from
at
the
the
Bronx,
house,
New
boogie
York.
down Bronx. Greg, how are you?
Greg, you might have to turn your
Doing well, doing well.
you might have to turn your other speaker down. We're hearing a lot of little feedback. Greg,
Okay, sorry
what
about
up,
that.
homie?
What's up? What's up? Let me get you guys on speaker.
Yeah, that might have been
1
it.
second.
Greg, you got 5 minutes, my brother. How can we serve you?
Okay, you got the off speaker phone.
Yep.
Okay, so here's my question. My question is, I have a parent, right? My mother. She has a few investment properties that she wants to pass on to her kids, right? She's yes. So so she's basically a tired landlord, and she wants to get out of the game and just go off with her retirement, and she wants the kids to manage the properties. So what would be the best way for her to transfer the properties into our name?
Ooh.
Man,
So we're thinking maybe
let me ask you a question. Where are the properties?
the properties are in Brooklyn. So
You're going to be
there's
hit. You're going to be
three
hit.
kids.
You are going to be hit with some serious tax implications if she transfers those properties to your names.
Sounds
First
like
and foremost, Greg, you need to go sit down with an estate planning attorney. That estate planning attorney's probably, again, I'm not an attorney. They're probably going to advise you to put everything into a non-revocable trust.
non-revocable, yeah, because she's
So
older.
what happens is that your mom could live off the rent roll and off the income of the properties, but when she passes away, that trust will that those properties will belong to you and your siblings, and they'll get what they call a step up value. So let's say if she transfers the properties to you today, and she bought the property for $1, but the property's worth $1 million,
Right.
you would have to pay tax capital gains to the city of New York, to the state of New York, and
Ooh.
to the federal government
Wow.
on that $1 million game. But if she passed away, the state, the city, and the feds come in and they say, okay, that property today is worth $1 million. We are going to put it back that it costs you at $1 million. That's called the step up value. If you sell that property a year from now and you sold it for $1.1 million, you only have to pay capital gain taxes on that 100,000, not the $1.1 million. Now, again, but I am not an attorney. I am not an accountant. Neither is Chris. This is something that you need to spend some money on, especially properties in Brooklyn. That means you have money. Spend some money and get the right guidance from not only an estate attorney, but also include your accountant in the conversation. Does that help?
Greg, you there? Did we lose him?
Yeah, it looks like we lost him.
Attorney.
Say that again.
Okay.
We just
Definitely. So you said my first step should be to speak with an attorney, with a legacy attorney.
Yes, but in conjunction with your accountant. I would not do anything without having your accountant look at it first, because remember, your attorney is going to looking out for not only the tax benefit, but for your liability, and the accountant is looking strictly just for to save you taxes. So you want to include your accountant in that conversation.
Okay, fair enough. Makes sense.
Greg, and don't forget, man, these properties are probably paid off, no doubt, right?
No, there's still debt on the properties, and we were thinking about keeping it in my mom's name and then just managing it. But she's worried that if we don't pay the mortgage, it's going to affect her credit. So she's at the point where she completely does not want to be involved. So there is a little bit of debt on the property.
Yeah, you need to speak to an attorney. You need to speak to
all I'm saying, Dan, was if you
once she sells those properties, even if she gives her kids, they're only entitled. I think they just raised the gift tax to $18,000 a person. She could only gift you all $18,000 each. Or what you could do, like I know somebody else that did this, was she gifted each one of her kids, 7 kids. At the time, it was $13,000 that wasn't taxable. Every year, she would gift her kids $13,000 worth of the property.
I like that. Get creative with it. That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
All right, Greg. Good talking to you.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Chris, let's call it, man. So we've been on for an hour. I want to thank everyone here. Chris, tell everybody where they can sign up for the waiting list.
Listen, y'all. Go below. Dan and I are putting together a massively intense ultimate landlord survival guide to help you from getting destroyed by tenants. Either you train your tenants, or I promise you, by default, they will train you. I was a professional. I was a trainee, man, from 2004 to about 2008.
I was a trainee too, but my professional tenant. They whipped my ass. They smacked me up.
Whip you to shape, little bit. Whip me to shape.
What are you talking about?
So in this video, in the show,
one lady said she started laughing at me. Her name, I want to say her name on here, but I'll never forget her name. I'm looking at her like, why is this bitch laughing at me? Like, she laughing at me, like making fun of me. I'm like, She said, you think you own this building? I own this building. Took me 18 months to get rid of her.
She was right.
Well, for 18 months, she owned me. She owned me and she owned that building for 18 months.
Right. She was right.
So again, guys, if you truly, truly want to learn this business, this is going to be the mastermind of masterminds. You're going to get 2 workbooks. You're going to have Chris and I's undivided attention for 4 weeks. Each class, there'll be 2 classes a night. This is going to be
2 classes a week. We do 2 classes a week.
Right?
Tuesday and Thursday.
This is going to be 4.0 real estate on steroids. On steroids. So, and we have a cutoff list. Once we get to a certain amount of people, we're cutting off the class because we want to make sure everyone gets equal access to us. So you need to put yourself on that waiting list. It's going to be the first people. As you get put on a waiting list is how you will get the phone calls from us. Once we get that a certain number of attendees sold, we're not passing that part down. So get yourself on that waiting list as soon as possible.
Learn how to manage your assets and your tenants, y'all. You do not want to try to wing it in this game. I promise you. I tried it. It didn't work. I had to get educated. No one comes out of the womb knowing how to manage residents properly, and much less multiple ones. It just doesn't work. So get on the waiting list, y'all. And I look forward to hanging out with you soon.
On my side.
Oh, yeah, it's acting funky. I'll see y'all soon. Peace, Dan.
Good night, everyone. Peace.